From being portrayed as average
Hey, Sheldon.
to constantly being involved in emotional love triangles.
I'm asking you now, right now, if you love me, Archie.
Why is the girl next door trope so fake? Betty, Pam, MJ. What do they all have in common? The audience is meant to believe that they're not the most attractive or beautiful women around. Alright. They're portrayed as cute to the rest of the world, while only the protagonist sees their real beauty shining through, after having an epiphany that opens their eyes. Well, it's completely unbelievable. Remember Rachel Lee Cook's Laney character from She's All That? The nerdy and unpopular art student who became the head turner at prom? Apparently, we're supposed to accept that she's an ugly duckling, and once she sheds the geekiness and gets a fresh haircut, she's suddenly transformed into a beautiful swan that dazzles everyone around her.
Nothing personal, Laney, but this particular coif doesn't really go with your face shape.
Yes, seriously. This is a similar case to Clark Kent losing the glasses and becoming Superman. Surely you can see it's the same person with or without spectacles, right? The girl next door is one of the most common tropes used in film and TV, usually referring to a young female stock-like character that's almost too good to be true, but possesses virtuous qualities and is almost always a love interest. The truth is, Hollywood would never cast a plain Jane for these types of series and movies. There's still a weird fascination with people's looks in the industry, and the girl next door is almost always drop-dead gorgeous in any production. To everyone watching at home, it's kinda insulting what these execs deem as ordinary, because most of these girls are anything but average, hence their inclusion in long-winded and chaotic romantic storylines. Look, everyone knows that if you spot a female neighbor in a show or film, it's 99% guaranteed that she will fall in love with the main character by the end of it. Take Penny from The Big Bang Theory as a prime example. She started off as friends with Leonard, while it was obvious there was always a spark and a little something more between them. They played the will they won't they game for a few seasons before getting together as a couple.
Leonard, honey, you don't have to say thank you every time we have sex.
Naturally, the writers had to toy with our emotions and split them up, making the audience want to see them find each other again, while keeping us glued to the screen to see what happened next. Of course, they finally got married like every good fairy tale romance and sailed off into the sunset. Aww. But here's the thing. Friends don't need to become lovers. Sure, there are exceptions and people can develop feelings for each other in the real world, but when someone enters into a friendship, there should be no expectation of it becoming something more. You know that concept of the friend zone? It's actually toxic, since it implies that all friendships should lead to something else. Unfortunately, the girl next door trope plays a part in this belief system, since these characters have been displayed as potential romantic interests all the time. What's even worse is how they're constantly stuck in messy love triangles. Think of Betty, Archie, and Veronica. Before Betty found Jughead, she fought valiantly for Archie's affections and undivided attention. It pretty much formed the basis of their entire dynamic in the comics for decades. There was never a single moment when an external party didn't play an influence in their relationship.
The red-headed Ansel Elgort? Is he your boyfriend?
No, we're
he's straight.
friends.
Sadly, this is a large part of the trope as well. The girl next door is either seeing someone else or the object of her affection is. Bottom line, somebody is going to inevitably get hurt by all of this. From a storyline point of view, it's understandable why writers choose to go down this route. Creating a love triangle always adds juicy drama into the mix as well as heated conflict, because matters of the heart make people do silly things. But at some stage, it becomes unrealistic and annoying. Yes, it's highly probable that people will date other people and not always be available. However, if it's a constant back and forth and there's a third wheel involved, one party will have to give up at some point. Life isn't like Days of Our Lives where people remarry each other 30 times. And that's the other problem. Why is the girl next door always the person giving second chances? To err is human. To forgive, divine. Yeah, okay, but what if the person is always screwing up repeatedly? You might forgive them once, maybe even twice, but if it happens constantly, you must realize that they're not exactly the best partner to keep around. You know, the it's not me, it's you. Look at MJ and Peter Parker as an example. How many times did Pete let her down by not attending her performances or being there for her as a boyfriend when she needed him?
You love me or not?
Yet, she gave him another chance and stood by his side. Or what about the time when he was emo Pete and seductively danced with Gwen Stacy right in front of MJ to make her jealous? And still, after all of this bad behavior, she took him back. Sheesh, she must have the most forgiving soul in the world. Or she's just a walking trope here. That's the issue with characters like MJ. Most people wouldn't tolerate half of this nonsense from their significant others, nor should they. Yet, the likes of MJ are perpetually suffering and handing out second chances like they're candy. It's as if they're in a constant cycle of torture and seeing how much pain they can endure. Kinda like they aren't really fully fledged characters, but more like plot devices, wouldn't you say? Again, let's take a look at Penny here. While Leonard, Sheldon, and the others discuss elements of geekdom and highly scientific concepts, she's usually the foil to their discussions, using her wit to compensate for what she might not understand.
Gee, Penny, you're smarter than I thought!
It's highly entertaining to the viewers as we experience Penny's amusing quips and retorts, but it doesn't do much to elevate her character's development in The Big Bang Theory. She had a dream of being an actress, but it was also utilized as one giant gag, where she was reminded how bad she was at it and could only star in low-budget and schlock movies. It's kind of derogatory to her, don't you think?
Oh my god, I need help.
Unfortunately, it's a common occurrence with the girl next door trope. The characters often have big ambitions to achieve so much more in their lives, but these dreams are generally cast away in favor of a generic love story being the be-all and end-all to them. Also, how many times have you seen the girl get a chance to pursue an amazing opportunity in another town or country, but they turn it down at the last second to run back to their boyfriend back home? It just goes to show that they're seen as nothing more than plot devices to move the story forward, rather than as developed characters with their own motives. This is also evident in their personalities. Have you noticed how they can do no wrong? They're seen as wholesome, kind, and friendly, with the inability to put one foot wrong. A good example of this is Pam from The Office. In fact, it became something of a gag where she was labeled Boring Pam for how uninspiring her character was at times.
Oh, are you joking?
The audience never got to see her as anything more than Jim's great love, as her sole purpose was to become his significant other on the show. Whenever there was a glimpse that Pam could come out of her shell as an artist or as a strong, independent woman, it'd be reined back in, an emphasis placed on her importance to her husband's arc and his storyline. Just think about how the series ended, where Jim got to pursue his life's dream, and Pam just encouraged and followed him. But what about what she wanted? Was it just a husband and children? There's a reason that the girl next door is often labeled as an incredibly vanilla character, because we never see them do something outstanding or something despicable. They toe a very fine line that doesn't offend anyone. They're safe. Almost too safe. And speaking of which, why are they so darn accessible all the time? No matter if it's day or night, they always seem to be at home and readily available for a heartfelt chat or ear-chewing whine. Look at Joey from Dawson's Creek as an example. Dawson was a bit of a user when you think about it. He'd go off and live his life to the fullest, but would always call on Joey when he felt like he made a bad decision. And he expected her to be sitting around and waiting for him. The cheek! Surprisingly, she hardly said no to him, making herself available whenever he rang or popped by. Seriously, in today's age, most people don't even answer their phones or respond to texts. So what makes you think they'll be at home to get the doorbell at all hours? Quite frankly, this shows once again how these characters are just hovering around randomly, waiting for the lead to interact with them, as if they have nothing better to do with their lives. Thankfully for Joey, she realized that Dawson wasn't all that and got together with Pacey in the end. However, a lot of the other ladies aren't that fortunate. It's just yet another reminder of why the girl next door is an outdated and illogical trope that does more harm than good to female characters in the long run. Hopefully, the next generation of writers do something to subvert this concept in the future. If you're in the mood to learn about strong female characters, though, then check out our video about Emma Watson's journey to becoming Hermione Granger. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Thanks for watching, and stay awesome!